as I said, this is December 21st. It is the speaker meeting tonight, and Danielle is going to introduce our speaker. Yay.
Gonna try not to mess it up. Do I still have to say the hi? My name is. Yeah. Okay. Hi. Hi. My name is Danielle, and I'm an alcoholic. So for me, this person has been incredibly critical in just being an example of what sobriety can look like. I think just coming into these rooms, had it just been, as profound as the big book is, had it just been reading the big book and then going our separate ways, I don't think that I would be sober had it not been for Erica grabbing me on my way out as I was trying to run away from you all, and saying no, like I'm adopting you, has been an incredible, pivotal part in my sobriety, and then an important part in helping me to know when I get confused and I have no idea what the big book is saying. I can look to Erica and know this is what it looks like to do the next right thing. And when I was still trying to figure out, what it looks like when you love someone before they can love themselves, that's what Erica is like to me. When I look at Erica, I see love. And I've learned a lot just hearing her, as you guys say it, experience strength and hope in this room. And so I'm excited for you guys to hear her story. And it's a lovely Erica.
Hey everybody, my name is Erica and I'm an alcoholic. Yeah. Thank you, Danielle, that was beautiful. I love you too. I'm really excited to be here. I'm really nervous. I guess I'm going to share my experience, strength, and hope, and kind of let you know a little bit about my past, how I got where I was, how I got through the program, and where I'm at now. And drugs are a part of my story. I will respect the AA tradition that alcohol is our primary purpose, and I will try to stick to that as much as possible, but just want to let you know they are a part of my story. The first 15 years of my life were really good. I have a sister that's 5 years younger than I and a brother that's 11 years younger. And my mom and dad, we lived in the same house until they passed away and we sold it. We lived in the same house. And everything was really good. And then my mother got sick mentally. She was diagnosed as manic bipolar and became addicted to pain medication and became a very strong pain med addict and was very sick with her bipolar. And so she was taking a lot of prescription drugs. And when I turned 16, I was working at a pharmacy. And this is before you had to have your certification to be a pharmacy tech. Anybody could be a pharmacy tech. And I was a pharmacy tech at the age of 16, counting out drugs, putting the labels on the thing. And I also did the books. But I also did the inventory. So it was just a very small pharmacy, and Mr. Alcorn was very old. But my whole point to that is that I was stealing Vicodin and Valium from the pharmacy for my mom. I would pour the bottles in my hand and put them in my pocket and steal them from my mom. And the way that she would show her appreciation is to give me pills. So my journey into alcoholism and addiction started when I was really 16. By then, I'd started drinking. I started out drinking beer. Wasn't drinking a lot, drinking enough to get in trouble, taking pills. Got caught drinking and got suspended from cheerleading games, from football games to cheer, that kind of stuff. maybe a lot of stuff that kids go through when they're in their high school years, but mine seemed to be to the excess. I'm shaking. Wow, I really am nervous. But my mom was really sick. And the sicker she got, the more I drank. And then I started stealing from her because what she was giving me wasn't enough. And I left the job at the pharmacy and couldn't wait to get out of the house. Mom was suicidal. She tried to kill herself 14 different times. And I tell you all this because it led up to me holding a resentment and me drinking and dragging against her for most of my life. But one time she slit her wrist and wrote "fuck you" in blood on our walls. She's laid in the street behind my car so I couldn't back up after taking a bottle of pills. I mean, just she had done a lot of stuff. And the time she laid behind the car, she had taken a bottle of pills, and it was me, my sister, who was 5 years younger, brother that was 11 years younger, and said she was going to kill herself. And I was like, cool, do it. And I took my brother and sister and left. And that's when she went and lay down behind my car, and I drove through the front yard and went to my cousin's. And I came back the next morning and had to call the paramedics because she had taken the bottle of pills. And she came to long enough to say, if I die, make sure you tell your brother and sister this is your fault. And that stuck with me most of my life. And that night, before I went back the next morning, I got really drunk and I prayed for her to die. And I kept that secret of praying for my mother to die up until, was it this year, Jill? Michelle? Yeah, this year. It had eaten my lunch. I left it off my fourth step. It had kept me drinking and drugging and kept me doing the things alcoholically because I had such guilt and shame. And I finally came clean about it, sitting in with my tribe of women in our book club, and said, I have to tell you this. And I said it, and instead of being ridiculed or being judged, I was told how strong I was, that I tried to protect my brother and sister and I took them away from the situation. How strong I was to actually walk away from the situation and not let it consume me. And I had never looked at it that way, and that is, one of the gifts of this program is having a tribe of women that way. But I went away to college, going through high school, all of that was going on and dealing with drinking. I was a vodka drinker and beer. I love my Coors Light. And so I drank my beer and drank my vodka. And went away to college. I went to Sam Houston State University and discovered a lot of stuff. My high school had 400 people in it, and so going away to college and becoming a little sister for a fraternity for Sigma Chi and learning a lot of stuff. And experimenting in a lot of ways and getting really, really drunk, but drinking after the girls had gone to sleep or passed out, I'm still drinking with the frat boys. I'm still drinking. I'm using my menu had been evolved to other stuff that I hadn't tried before. And I was making a lot of bad choices, and I was waking up a lot of places, not knowing where I was, not knowing who I was with, or knowing who I was with, but not knowing how I got there. And one day, my daddy showed up, and he knocked on the door, and he grabbed me by my hair, and he dragged me out and put me in the truck and said, "You're coming home, you're done with school right now." I guess I'd called him and told him everything that was going on in a drunken state. And that was me crying out for help when I didn't even realize it. And Daddy came and got me and took me home. And I continued to drink and take pills and drinking a lot. And then I met my ex-husband, and He was the first man that I had met since I got out of high school that didn't drink excessively and didn't drink. He had a stable job. He walked by me at the Marriott, and I said, that's the man I'm going to marry. He went to get in the elevator, and I went to follow him, and he let the elevator shut in my face. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's it. He's the one. Because, that's how we are. I'm like, oh, that's the one. He's cocky enough. And 6 weeks later, we were engaged. And 6 months later, we're married. And 6 weeks later, we're pregnant with our first child. During my pregnancies, I stayed sober. I stayed clean and sober. But as soon as the kids were born, my older two are 19 months apart. And I have 3 sons. But my problem was when I wasn't pregnant or nursing, I was drinking. I was doctor hopping. This is back in the 90s when you could go to 5 different doctors and they'd all give you huge prescriptions. So I was doctor hopping and drinking on top of taking pills. And that's just not a good combination. And then that went on until 1999, and I ended up getting a divorce. And it wasn't due to the drinking and drugging. It was because my husband moved in with his coworker. And they're still married today, so who am I to stand in the way of true love, I guess. She's an alcoholic, which is so funny. I love it. She's just not one of us in AA. I have the gift of AA. She has the gift of passing out in her bed every night. But got divorced, and I really went to town drinking. The kids were gone to their dads, and I could really let go and party and not have to worry about being drunk in front of the kids. The kids were little. And that worked for a minute. And then in 2003, my neighbor came over, and I was living in a townhouse, going to school to teach middle school biology, and my neighbor came over and said, hey, try this. This will help you keep your house clean, help you with your schoolwork, help you with everything. And it turned out to be methamphetamine. And within 6 weeks, I was dealing it. I was drinking so heavily to offset the side effects from doing other substances. And making bad choices, making really bad choices. And I lost my townhome and ended up moving into another apartment and got robbed and did some really bad things. I was so drunk one night and high, and I had a group of people at my house. And this is one of the things I've talked about every time I share my story, because it's one of the things I'm most ashamed about, is that I had 3 young sons, and I put them in a bedroom with boxes of cereal and bottles of water and left them locked up in there while I got drunk and high with a group of people that didn't need to be in my house. And to this day, it's one of the things that I'm trying to forgive myself for, is knowing that I had my kids in there when I had people in there that I shouldn't have had in my house. And I was trading in my food stamps, using their child support that I was getting to drink. I wasn't a good mom. And then in 2000, after that, I started drinking and dragging really heavily again, and the kids were exposed, and I get a knock on the door. The kids had gone to their dad's for the weekend. I get a knock on the door, and I think it's my ex-husband bringing my children home. And it was a process server serving me papers that I was a danger to my children and that I had a restraining order against me. And in my sick, drunk mind, alcoholic mind, I looked at that as woohoo, now I can really drink the way I want to drink. I don't have to worry about them at all. I can just drink, drug, which I did. I lost jobs. I lost friends. I lost respect for myself. In 2003, I decided to die. I decided to die. So I went and got a bottle of whiskey. I went and saw my drug dealer. Went to my parents' house and locked myself in the bathroom. And they called the police about 2 hours later. I was going to stay in there and drink and drug until I died, till my heart exploded, was my goal. And the police came and kicked the bathroom door down. And I have my feet and my hands against the door, refusing to go out. And I was very fortunate. They did not arrest me for they did not charge me with resisting arrest or anything. I just know they put me in the city jail. And I was very fortunate. I had a jailer that was very understanding. And my biological father's last name is LaFleur, so that was my legal last name at the time. And he'd go, LaFleur, eat your sandwich. LaFleur, drink your Sunny D. LaFleur, go shower. And he made me become human again before I got moved to state. I did get a felony charge for possession of a controlled substance under 1 gram methamphetamine. Did 90 days in county jail, which really sucked. It really sucked. Mystery meat for 90 days is not good. Not good. And a lot of bologna sandwich and lemon-o cookies. And I did 90 days, and then I did drug court. Then got out, was going to do the right thing, and the first thing I did when I got out before I went to drug court was start drinking again. I was like, I'm just going to drink. God was nowhere in my life during this. All that I cared about was where could I get enough money to buy another bottle or to get high. That's all I cared about. So then I decided I found a trick. Got arrested again for forgery with a government instrument for printing counterfeit money. Went to jail. Luckily, they dropped the charges the next day. When they arrested me, I was laundering the money, not printing the money, and they charged me for printing money, not for laundering money, so they dropped the charges. So that was very good because that was a federal offense. But let me tell you also, when you get charged with a federal charge, they put you in the orange jumpsuit and they put you in shackles and they put you in a room with a camera there and they come in and the Secret Service comes in and they tell you what you're doing to your country and that you'll never see your children again, and it was very intense. And once again, as soon as I got out of jail, the first thing I did was get drunk. None of it mattered. I got, once again, look at me, I got off easy. Nothing stopped me. I didn't have any consequences. I got out of jail the next day. Didn't have a lot of consequences. Even going to jail for 90 days wasn't enough. Losing my children wasn't enough. I went into rehab, and while I was in rehab, custody court happened. And since I was in rehab, I couldn't go to court. And so I lost full custody of my children. I had to have supervised visits, which really sucked. And I couldn't be sober when I'd go to visit them being supervised. I was always drunk. I would drive drunk. I would go to take them to McDonald's or to wherever. And their dad would let me ride with them, and I'd be drunk with the kids in the car. And just made such bad choices. And continued to drink and drug until I didn't. In 2011, I decided I was done. And I went to the right step. And, to the right step. And got out of the right step and decided to move into Oxford. I'd heard if you move into sober living, you have such a higher chance of staying sober. So I moved into sober living and found a club called Champions. Champions saved my life. Met Gene and Kelly, and they became a huge part of my tribe. For many years, we did everything together. It's what helped keep me sober was the two of you, and the fellowship and the friendship and the living together and the fights and the arguments and the love. And I got sober at the 10 o'clock meetings. Back when I was going to Champions, it was rocking. It was packed. The 10 o'clock meeting would be packed. And we'd have that candlelight going, and I was able to get honest and talk about my issues and my problems, and learn that I was the problem. Learned that I didn't have to drink again. Learned that I didn't have to feel the way that I was feeling anymore. And it worked great for almost 5 years. And then I moved back to Fort Worth, which is where I'm from, because my daddy was sick. And couldn't stay sober for my dad's funeral. I couldn't deal with it. My tribe of ladies drove down from Houston for my dad's funeral. I was so fortunate. And I couldn't stay sober. And, at Dad, after the funeral, we went back to the house. And I went in my bedroom and passed out. And I missed all that. I barely remember my dad's funeral because I was too drunk. And that's how my life was. I missed out on everything. I got married a second time in 2012. And I married this man because he had insurance. And since he had insurance, I could get my prescriptions for free and not have to go to the streets anymore. Got married in Vegas, so drunk that I don't remember it. Got married in the little white chapel from The Hangover. Literally in the little white chapel from The Hangover. By Elvis. I was barefoot. And for real. And we only lived together 9 days. He ended up, because my picker is good, let me tell you. He ended up having federal marshals coming to our house while I was in treatment, busting through our doors while my children were there, looking for him because he had 2 accounts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and a assault against a woman. And actually, it's not funny. It was rape with penetration was the charge he had, and I had married this man. And it was really, really hard. But I didn't get it annulled because I was too lazy and I was too busy getting drunk, so I ended up getting divorced. But still was drinking and dragging through all this. And then I went to rehab again and stayed sober just a little bit. Just maybe 6 months, 8 months. And not very long. And then I moved back to Houston and I was still struggling. And I'd get sober for like 6 months. Or I came back to Alano and I got sober for a year. Then in 2018, I decided, I've got this. I don't need meetings anymore. I had almost 5 years of sobriety. I have a year now. I know what's going on. I can do this. So I stopped going to meetings, and lo and behold, I ended up worse than I was before. Drinking, drugging, making bad choices, waking up places that I shouldn't be. Making really bad choices. And it led me to a few years of the worst years of my life. My children, my oldest son, had already cut me out of his life. He had told me if I relapsed one more time, he was no longer have a relationship with me because he had to protect himself. And when I relapsed that last time, this was in 2018, and I've seen him at my mother's funeral. And we don't have a relationship today. And it's my oldest son whom I love very much. And that's really hard for me to deal with. It's very sad. It's the consequences of our actions. When we put alcohol before our children, before our family, before God, before everything, then we lose it. And I did. I lost everything, including myself. I stayed out there drinking, drugging, doing everything I shouldn't. and I got worse than ever. And during this time, I'd been at Side Creek 5 times. In 2017, right after my dad died in 2016 and 2017, I had met a guy, and he was an undiagnosed alcoholic. And in 2017, we were at home, we were arguing, and he was drinking, and he shot himself in the head in front of me. And I lost touch with reality. I instantly, first time I didn't know what to do, because what do you do in that situation? I got to my sister's that night. My sister and brother came and picked me up after everything that had happened. And the first thing I did was get a glass of wine. And in my mind, I was thinking, oh my God, you did this to me. Let me show you what I can do. Everything I told you I would never do again, I'm so going to do. Let me show you. And within 6 weeks, I was right back to where I was before, being so drunk I can't walk. I'm driving. I've had the same job since 2013. I still had my job. I was going to work drunk, snorting cocaine in the bathroom at my job, making really bad choices. And during the pandemic, it got so bad. I had been up for about 5 days, and I got stuck. And y'all have heard me say this before. I literally got stuck in the hallway. I couldn't turn right. I couldn't turn left. I couldn't walk forward. I couldn't walk backward. My demons had consumed me so bad that I couldn't move. And I started screaming out to God to help me. And I remember just crying and screaming. And there's people at the house, of course, because I lived in a trap house. You know, the apartment was never the place you wanted to be, but everybody wanted to be. And I start screaming, and everyone's like, you got to be quiet, you got to be quiet. The police are going to come. And sure enough, God sent the sheriff's department. Sheriff's department came, an ambulance came. And I remember the ambulance lady, I was freaking out. I'm flailing by then. I'm screaming. You know, my demons have me. I'm crying to God to help me, something to help me. I can't live this way anymore. And she grabs my hand like this. And I can't tell you what happened. But whatever she did to me, I instantly felt something come over me. And I don't know if it was a touch of her, if she did some voodoo shit on me, or whatever it was. But she did something. And I instantly felt this relief come over me. And I was like, this is it. I'm finally going to get some help. And they strapped me to the gurney. And so ridiculous. I'm in the back of the ambulance saying, shh, they're going to hear you. Man, alcohol and drugs will screw you up. Sorry, there's a child in here. Will screw you up and make you say crazy things. And I ended up at Side Creek then for 10 days. And while I was in Side Creek, I went to a meeting. And now, mind you, I used to take meetings to Side Creek. This is when I met Joe and Carrie's husband, and me and Joe and Matt Winnett and Rick Sanchez, we would take meetings every Tuesday night to Side Creek Hospital. So I was always on that side for a year and a half. Well, this time I'm on the other side. I have no clothes. I'm watching what I have on. I have on a purple gown, no underwear, and hospital socks. And I go to a meeting, and the person chairing the meeting is Matt Winnett. It was so humbling because, thank God it wasn't Joe, I would have died. It was already enough. But, you know, I looked at it as, talk about being humbled. I was very humbled. And I picked up a desire chip. And my psychiatrist said, I think you need to go to rehab. I'm like, I think you might be right. And I went to Kima Palms, which is a very fancy resorty top. It was very fancy. We had water therapy. We had a chiropractor. We had ribeye steak night. We had a private chef. It was ridiculous. It was so, and my insurance paid 100% for it. I don't know. Once again, God was doing something. But I stayed sober. So my sobriety date, which I didn't say, is August 12th, 2020. And I did get sober during the pandemic. And I went to treatment and learned a lot in treatment again. And instead of my counselor there, her name was Courtney, and she helped me remember that just because I relapsed doesn't mean that I lost what I had gained from AA. She helped me remember that I had enough knowledge and my foot in the door enough that I could come back. Oh, I have to say this real quick, because this is God doing for me what I could not do for myself. When I was in Sour Creek Hospital, before I went to Kema Palms, I called my drug dealer boyfriend that lived in my apartment, and I said, hey, I need you to get in my phone. There's a list of names that say AA before it. I need you to bring me 5 names of AA people with phone numbers. So he does it, and the list he brings me are 4 drinking buddies and 1 AA person. That one AA person was Charlene. Now, I've been scared of Charlene for a long time. I had at one point wanted to ask her to be my sponsor, but she's intense, and she was going to make me work, and she was spiritual, and I just, she had everything I wanted. So I was like, this is a sign from God that the one name that he brings me is Charlene. And y'all know Charlene's a busy woman. So I call her at 5:30 on a work night, and she answers the phone. And I'm like, hey, Charlene, this is Erica. Do you remember me? She's like, yeah, how are you? And I was like, not so well. I'm in a psychiatric hospital. Here's what's been going on. Are you willing to sponsor me? And she said, did you pray about it? Yes, I prayed about it. And I told her, I said, I'm a little scared of you. And she said, well, you're going to need to be willing to work. And she's like, can you call me every night at 5:30? And I was like, sure. I mean, what else am I going to do? Play rummy again? So that's when I started working with Charlene, and Charlene changed my life. Charlene showed me how to stay sober. Charlene has showed me how to be a woman of integrity. Charlene has shown me how to be independent, how to trust myself, how to love myself. She has taught me about having a relationship with a higher power that can be uniquely my own, that doesn't have to be like anyone else's. Charlene changed my life. So after I got out of treatment, I came to Alano, and I had such anxiety. I was so scared. I wouldn't come to Friday night meetings because my anxiety was so bad. I was working the steps diligently with Charlene. And then one night, this woman that I barely knew invited me to poker. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot of people. And I went to Jill's house, and I was terrified. I was socially awkward. I didn't know how to be around that many people without being drunk. And that started me helping to relieve my anxiety. Check your blood sugar. Help me to start to be able to interact with people. This is what got me started on coming to meetings on Friday night, to going to dinner, was Jill opening her home and showing me what it could be like to be part of the fellowship. Too high? Do you need to go? Okay. We rode together. So, showing me how to be a part of. And so I started looking forward to her poker nights, and I started coming to Friday meetings, and I started going to dinner with people. I was diligently working the steps. I'd got my... Oh, and I said to Jill, and this was something I truly meant from my heart, was that she was the first time at her house is where I felt like I had family, where I felt that my social awkwardness was lifted, that I could be around other people, and that's a blessing. And that's one thing, you know, when we talk about fellowship and going out to dinner after the meetings, people that don't do it, they don't know what they're missing out on how close friendship you can get and how much that matters, especially when your ass is falling off. You know, today I can pick up that phone and call Michelle or call Jill, call Danielle, call Carla, whatever. I can pick up that phone and make that call. And that's a blessing. I lost my train of thought. I'm still nervous and I'm a little sweaty. This is 2024, about to be 2025. I've lost my mom, and I stayed sober. My sister was diagnosed with cancer, and I stayed sober. I don't have a relationship with my oldest son, and I stayed sober. My relationship with my higher power is incredible. I have him in my life, and he's with me every day. I start out my day thanking him for keeping me sober and thanking him for waking me up. And I end my day thanking him for helping me get through the day and for keeping me sober. Through the day, you know, stopping, asking for direction. Jill and I kind of have this thing where we talk about, we're both like, for a while there we were sending each other texts with little check marks showing that we did our 86, 87, 89 every morning. Starting that day out with that God consciousness and how important it is. Admitting I was powerless over alcohol and my life had become unmanageable, it was really hard for me to admit that I was an alcoholic. I knew I was a drug addict. I knew I was a junkie. But to admit I was an alcoholic was really hard for me. And I had to come into these rooms and listen to other people share and find out that anything that I put in my body to change the way I feel shows me to be an alcoholic. It kicks off that allergy. I don't want to drink or drug anymore. I know my life was unmanageable. Obviously, I'd lost my children. My parents had died. I had alienated everyone in my family. You know, I had stole from them. I had lied. I had stolen checks out of their checkbook and wrote checks to myself. Borrowed a car and was gone for 4 days in it. You know, all those things that we do when we're in our alcoholism. I'd lost someone I love very much tragically to suicide. Did not stay sober for that. But I'm sober today. You know, today I live a really good life. In 2021, I got my middle son has Addison's disease. And he's pretty much, for the most part, stays in bed all the time and has to take medications that are life-saving medications that he has to take every day because his body doesn't produce certain chemicals and hormones that control his heart rate. And anyway, it doesn't matter. But he came to live with me again, and he's 31 today. But he came to live with me, and I was back at Oxford House, and I didn't know where I was going to go or what I was going to do. Didn't know how I was, you know, my credit was screwed up. I didn't have enough money. And I talked to my sponsor, and my sponsor talked to her husband, and they prayed about it. And she called me and said, for 1 month, why don't y'all, for 1 month, put everything in storage. Y'all come stay, you and Jake come stay with me and Jeff, and it'll give you an opportunity to figure out, you know, what you're going to do. And I was like, all right, awesome. You know, it's a whole upstairs. It's 2 bedrooms. There's a 3rd bedroom. That's the office. I got a living room. I got a bathroom. I got like an apartment up here. Big screen TV upstairs. And I'm like, sure. Well, 1 month has now turned into 4 years. They ain't getting rid of my ass, man. I'll tell you what. 1 year has turned into 4 years. And it's been such a blessing. And it's because of this program. And what it's teaching me is I hate saying roommate because they're not roommates anymore, they're family. But it's teaching me how to be a part of a family, how to have respect for others, how to respect other people's property, how to respect their purses, how to respect things that I had trouble with in the past. How to have respect and to honor and to live side by side with people. And it's really been amazing, and I just feel truly blessed that this has happened. And I'm fortunate. I've kept my job. I've been at my job 11 years now. My job sent me to 3 rehabs and 5 psych hospitals, and have paid for it. And I work for a really big worldwide company. And I did leave when Mike died. I left for about a year, and they called me to come back, which, they had sent me to rehab, and yet they still called me to come back, which really helped me to have some confidence in myself, to realize that I had some value, that apparently what I was doing was good because they called me to come back after I'd gone to work drunk and nearly knocked over the computer, and it was really ugly. But I don't have to drink and drug today. I've worked these steps multiple times. I've taken a sponsee all the way through the steps, and she got a sponsee. I've had a couple of sponsees this time during sobriety. They have not stayed sober, but I have stayed sober. I pray to God that when the time is right, He'll put another sponsee in my life. But for now, I'm just doing the deal every day. I get in the big book. I pray so much for direction, an intuitive thought or a decision. I meditate. I fellowship. I keep my commitments 95% of the time. I'm not perfect. I still get social anxiety, and I get to where it's hard for me. Sometimes I let my alcoholism convince me that I'm sick. And I really feel sick. I really have symptoms. But I think it's my depression and my alcoholism that's convincing me. And I'm not great at that yet, but I'm working on it. And I realize it, I see it, I identify it. And then I still stay in bed. But I'm working on it. But I know today, like I keep saying, I don't have to drink and drug today. I pray to God every day that He soften Ryan's heart for him to have a relationship with me again. And I don't guilt him. I don't manipulate him. I send him texts, just say, I love you and I miss you. I'm here if you want to talk. And that's all I can do. And give him God's time to come around or not come around, There's nothing I can do about that. But what I can do is continue to live a sober life, live a life of integrity and honesty, be productive, be kind, be loving, and let him see that. And or hear it through his brothers, however it happens. But a pretty good thing, if I keep my job and I don't go to jail, then I'm doing really well because, like I said, jail is not fun. And I'm too old to go to jail now. I'm 56. 56 is old to go to jail. Can I be done now, even though I still have 10 minutes left?
Yeah.
5?
It's over when it's over.
It's over when it's over. I feel like I have said plenty. What I do want to say is I'm so thankful to the fellowship. I'm so thankful for each and every one of you here. I mean, I know everybody in here pretty much. I don't think I know you. Hi, what's your name?
Holly.
I know you, Holly.
Kevin is alcoholic.
Hey, Kevin, alcoholic. I'm Eric, alcoholic. Nice to meet you. I think I know everybody else in here. So, it's a good feeling. When my day's really bad, and I get in the parking lot, and I walk through that door, and there's Troy coffee brewing, and I know I'm going to have hair grow on my chest tonight because I'm going to drink Troy's coffee. And I walk in here, and Danny's sitting in his spot, and Alan's sitting in his spot, Tim's sitting in his spot, everybody, and I can just I'm home. I'm in these 4 walls. These are my people. They love me. I can walk in here and cry and make a fool of myself, and you know what they're going to say? you know, it's all right, I love you, come back, keep coming back, come back tomorrow. Where else am I going to get that? So I'm very blessed. Never thought I'd be grateful to be an alcoholic, but it's brought me the family that I've always wanted. So thank you so much for letting me share.
Thank you.